Hello, namaste, great morning. Hello, everyone. I've been asked by one of the viewers, and it's very interesting that I've been having a number of Sikh viewers. And so you're all welcome. Thank you for coming to the channel. But I've been asked to do a commentary of the Astavakra Samhita. Okay. This is the text that I use if somebody is getting to realization and the great falling away. This is the text to immerse yourself in, to help to stabilize. Okay? I really don't advocate that my students read this before. And the reason why is I don't want people to attempt to try to manufacture a false idea of realization. Okay, I don't want them to try to convince themselves of it, to imagine it, to attempt to manufacture it. Okay, I think this is how a lot of the satsang people that are doing Advaita satsang, they memorize these things and they regurgitate them. But just regurgitating the word is not liberation. That's not moksha. It's not going to free one of anything. It may sound good on the surface, but one is not truly, genuinely living from Turiyatita, the still mind of realization. Okay, but I'll go ahead, and it's going to take more than, I think, one video. We'll try to do this in segments because it is such a wonderful text, one of my favorites, the Astavakra or the Vivek. Either of these are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful texts for non-duality. That and the what is it? The Rahasya. That's also one of the best texts for non-duality. So we'll start with chapter 1, instruction on realization. Excuse me, get a drink. My throat is so I can actually speak. Okay. Instruction on self-realization. Janak said, and Janak was the king, okay? Janak was the king, and he is asking this sage to instruct him and to guide him, okay, on realization. Okay. So Janak said, how can knowledge be acquired? Now, when they're speaking of knowledge, they're not speaking of worldly knowledge, something that you are going to study and imbibe and try to understand with the logical mind. He is talking about genuine knowledge, which blows out all of this other gathered and collected knowledge of worldly nature. He is speaking of realization. Okay, so how can knowledge be acquired? How can liberation be attained? How is renunciation possible? Tell me this, O Lord. And Astavakra says, if you aspire after liberation, my child, shun the objects of the senses as poison. Okay, so again, anything that you're viewing with the senses, all of the worldly dynamic, and this also goes for powers. Okay, all of these things you should give up. You don't chase those things. Don't chase the things of the world. Okay, it's not about whatever you can gather and collect. Okay, it says shun the objects of the senses as poison. and seek forgiveness, sincerity, kindness, contentment, and truth as nectar. Okay? These are the things that are going to truly benefit you. The things of the world come and go. Powers, all of this nonsense comes and goes as well. Those are not what one should be seeking if you were looking for liberation. None of those things will bring liberation. They only bring more bondage. So let's go forward. You are neither earth, nor water, nor fire, nor air, nor space. In order to attain liberation, know the self as the witness of all of these and as consciousness itself. Okay, so when he is speaking of the self, he's not talking about the ego self. He is talking about what is there prior to ego self. Let that be witness. Let it see. Okay, and when one goes on the path, the heart opens, expands, and then one enters witness state. It's a buffer zone between you and what you are seeing in the world. Okay, the mind is starting to still when one enters witness state. And they're still in that first projection of I am at that point. But you're not as caught up with the things of the world. So, one wants to know the self as witness. And understand that it's just consciousness. You are not this body, you are not this form. You are that which animates it. Okay, so let's go forward. If you detach yourself from the body and rest in consciousness, you will at once be happy, peaceful, and free from bondage. Now, this takes a while to get to the point. But if you are in the midst of a Kundalini awakening, experience will come about to show you you are not the body. You are that which animates it. Okay. So this is a point that one has to come to in their spiritual journey. Experiences that show you you are consciousness. So this is the value of some of those, what do they call, the acidity power that shows you animus. You are bigger, you are smaller. You are having these cognitions of changes of how large you are, how small you are. 1 second you can be in the body, next second, like the experience I've spoken of, being above the trees, seeing the ocean, and you're driving a car, yet your consciousness is not located in the body. And if you stop for a second, you realize, wait a minute. If it's not only seeing through the eyes, then I am not this body. Okay? I am consciousness. I am not this form. I am not relegated to simply this form. This is an avenue, the form is an avenue of experience in this realm. So let's go forward. You do not belong to the Brahmana or any other caste or to any asrama. You are not perceived by the senses, unattached, formless, and witness of all. Are you? Be happy. Again, so this is discounting this idea because in India it's very prevalent. I'm a Brahmin. I'm the highest caste. You know, has nothing to do with what caste you are, where you were born in life. All are exactly the same in consciousness. There's only one singular is that animates all of form and formless in this existence. Okay? Equal. No higher, no lower. Okay? You are spirit. Okay? So again, unattached. Don't be clinging to any of these things. You're spirit, you're formless, and the witness of all of these things. Okay? You see it, but you don't have to be attached to it. Okay. You develop equanimity. Okay. Let's go forward. Virtue and vice, pleasure and pain are of the mind, not you. O all-pervading one, you are neither doer nor enjoyer. Verily, you are ever free. And people have always been free, and that's why they are under their bondage. They're free to be under bondage. Okay? Because they are attached to the mind and the mind spin that is projecting the world and projecting emotions and projecting these experiences which they take to be valid. Okay? All of these constructs that they are putting out there. Again, virtue and vice, pleasure and pain are of the mind. The Word was with God and the Word was God. Okay? The Word is that which is creationary. You put that word out there, and that also goes with the mental thoughts. Thoughts are created by words. Okay? These mentations. These create the structure of your AKA illusion. I call it the illusion of reality because it's not real whatsoever. Okay? It's only as real as you buy into its drama. And that's what causes bondage. Because people buy into the drama of the words and the storyline. I call it their soap opera that they have constructed. Okay. Let's continue forward. You are the one seer of all and are really ever free. Again, just what I was trying to say. You are always free. You're even free to be in bondage. Okay. Verily, this alone is your bondage, that you see yourself not as the seer, but as something other. Again, you are projecting yourself out as a form, a limited form that's going to be born and going to die. Okay? You're a limited form that is having these experiences that you fight against or you cling to in life. But you are not that. You are that which is aware of those things. Okay? And doing the spiritual path, you can back out of that. That's why it is so important to do the meditation, the stilling. This is why I give these practices of balanced breath, the I am that I am, the Om that I am. Okay? The sitting there in contemplation of really experiencing one thing at a time, doing one thing at a time. Okay, coming into the moment. Okay, not clinging to the past or letting it rule you, nor projecting into the future. The only thing you can change is this moment. Okay. So this is the path to realization. Putting these things into effect. They're very simple yet very effective to bring one into the moment so that one can enter witness state and begin to be the seer from that first projection and then going even beyond that to realization. Okay, so let's continue forward. Burn down the forest of ignorance with the fire of conviction. I am the one. Now, I don't even say the one. I say I am the zero, because one can be subdivided. Now, if you're going to the place of the Shaivite path, Kashmiri Shaivite, they would go to this I am the one. And one can be subdivided into what is now Maya, which would then become the play of God once one is liberated. That one can be subdivided into all of existence, okay? But in Turiyatita, there is not subdivision. The eyes may register it, but the consciousness remains in that 0 point balance, which is free of construct. Okay, so let's go forward. And pure consciousness, and be free from grief, and be happy. So again, you don't take on all of these dramas to develop a poor me persona. Okay, one witnesses and sees it. They will, when you enter witness state, eventually it will come to a point of you're like this ocean. And when these things come up, they're like little waves that come up, ripples on the water, but then it stills back into this silence, stillness, okay? Going forward, you are that consciousness, bliss, supreme bliss, in and upon which this universe appears, superimposed like a snake on a rope, live happily. Okay, all of this seen existence becomes superimposed by mind on consciousness. When one is free of that, the consciousness is like this screen. Okay, pure, undefiled, untouched. When one comes to realization, that consciousness, even though the eyes are registering this seen world, okay, the consciousness remains undefiled. It's never touched by any of the happenings that take place in this realm of Maya. Again, once that breaks, then it becomes the play of God. It's no longer Maya. It's Maya as long as there is that illusion and delusion covering, okay, into this feeling of everything being separate, you know. Okay. Once that drops, then it becomes the play of God. Okay, continuing forward. My child, you have long been caught in the noose of body consciousness. That's separation. Okay? Sever it with the sword of knowledge that I am consciousness, and be happy. Again, you know, this sword of knowledge of I am consciousness comes by doing these practices that allow one to begin to still, to quiet, to slow down, to witness, okay, rather than being the doer, rather than being the ego. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, watch what I can do. One takes a back seat, stills, quiets, witnesses, can see the illusion from the drama, from the play. Okay, going forward. You are unattached, actionless, self-effulgent, and without any blemish. This indeed is your bondage that you practice meditation. Okay, now what's meant by that? This can throw one in a spin. What do you mean I shouldn't practice meditation? It means that you are practicing it, not being it. You have to be it. Not be the doer again, okay? Doesn't mean that you don't put meditation into place. It means don't be a doer. I'm going to get this by doing X, you know. Again, it's about, again, allowing to still. Meditation happens when the mind stills. It will still of its own accord as one continues to go forward and enter into that stillness. You don't get it by doership, okay? It comes by grace. One is already that. It's uncovering these illusions that are now obstructing what is, okay? So again, that happens by starting to still, doing the practices which will begin to aid you to still, to see what has been ever present. Okay, so that's what's meant by that. You pervade this universe, and this universe exists in you. You are really pure consciousness by nature. Do not be small-minded. So again, it's talking from the point of realization. Okay. When realization takes place, one knows you have never been born, you have never died. You are this consciousness. You are this intellect without knowledge. It's not been cluttered at that point by all the knowledge that one has collected in the transient world. Okay. When one enters that pure intellect, it allows for all of the other knowledge to take place, to be known. But it is not limited by that. Okay? Let's go forward. You are unconditioned, immutable, formless, of cool disposition, of unfathomable intelligence and unperturbed. Desire consciousness alone. Okay? So we're not chasing any of the coverings. You want to come to liberation, to moksha, to discover that consciousness which is pure and undefiled. Okay. Know that which has form to be unreal and formless to be permanent. Exactly. That which is in form is transient. It's always changing. That which is transient and always changing cannot be the formless is. This is why the practice of neti. Whatever is changing, coming and going, cannot be the reality. It is part of the transient projection. You watch emotions, they come and go. Where do they come and go to? Thoughts. You watch them arise, you watch them go. Where do they go to? Where were they prior to this inception? What gives them life? This is the process of witnessing and neti. Not this, not this. What is this I? What arises to it? What goes? Where does it go to? This only comes by that contemplation, by sitting in witness and seeing what comes and goes, and then questioning it at the very depth. Neti. It's not this, it's not this, it's not this. Until all of the illusion has been confronted and it drops. Okay. Just as a mirror exists within and without, the image reflected in it, so the Supreme Self exists inside and outside this body. Okay, so there's nothing separate from that consciousness. What is in the seen world is just reflected on it, superimposed upon it, surrounds it, encompasses it. But in the center of whatever is seen is that consciousness, that pure is. Okay. Just as the same all-pervading space is inside and outside a jar, so the eternal, all-pervasive Brahman exists in all things. Okay, when we speak about Brahman, we talk about that first projection. Okay, so that is which is then subdivided. Okay, so most of this is speaking from that point of that Shaivite point of that singular that then subdivides. Okay. But no matter what is seen, everything there that is seen in the realm carries that undivided singular is at the core. Okay. And that's why when liberation takes place, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden one is no longer seeing the world It just means, again, it becomes the play rather than an obstruction. Okay, so that's the first chapter. I think we'll do these by chapters. That might be the easiest way, then it's not so long of a video. So we're going to close out the first chapter. The second chapter is Joy of Self-Realization. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this offering this morning and that everything is going well. Please continue your journeys to realization. Namaste. Have a great day.